Magpapasalamat naman ako sa mga nag-aalala sa akin. Huwag niyo pong masyadong siniseryoso. Alam mo naman ang social media, palabiro yan eh.
Sir, good afternoon.
Yes, sir.
Katatapos lamang po ng fourth meeting with the Private Sector Advisory Council Education and Jobs Sector Group.
Yes.
Usapan niyo doon, sir.
Yeah.
Ang job matching.
Well, yung inunan natin dyan ay para dun sa mga nakauwi na OFW. Paano ngayon sila? So, hinahanapan namin ng mga paraan para yung kung ready sila, makahanap sila ng bagong trabaho. Yung mga kailangan may training, meron yung dating sistema natin, in-accelerate na natin para mas mabilis ang maging training nila para makapasok na naman sila sa trabaho. Meron din kaming ginagawa para doon sa ayaw ng maging empleyado ay magtatayo ng sariling negosyo. Nagtatayo sila ng sarili nilang negosyo, so we'll also help them with that. Kasama na din yung support sa mga pautang, etc. And the digitalization, of course, yung mga MSMEs kasi magpapasok yan sa MSMEs. So yun ang inuna namin. But of course, there are also all kinds of other issues in terms of the new jobs that are napag-usapan na naman yung AI at kung paano natin kailangan accelerate yung AI integration into the system, not only government but the whole economic system. So yun, maraming mga suggestion na siyempre dahil na sa mga pangyayari sa Middle East, marami talagang pwede pang gawin na suggestion that came from the private sector side. Titignan natin at marami naman talaga. Ang magandang naging resulta dito, yung iniisip gawin namin sa pamahalaan, we are very much in agreement with the private sector advisors kung ano yung dapat gawin to mitigate the effects of what is happening in the Middle East. So, tama yung but pareho ang aming thinking. We are, as I was saying, we are on the same page, ika nga.
Sir, the meeting lasted for more than 1.5 hours.
Yeah.
So, ang tanong natin, sir, isa't kalahating oras. So, para sa mga kababayan nagmamahal sa iyo, sir, kamusta po ang inyong kalusugan?
Ganun pa rin. Yun na nga, I'm struggling kasi ayoko tumaba ulit. Nawala na yung taba ko, baka babalik. So that's what I'm taking care of. But I want to magpapasalamat naman ako sa mga nag-aalala sa akin. Huwag niyo pong masyadong siniseryoso. Alam mo naman ang social media, palabiro yan eh. At wala po tayong problema. I'm back to my regular exercise. I've been back to my regular routine for the last 3 months na ito na patuloy lang yung aking ginagawa. Watching my health, making sure that I'm always ready to do the work.
So, yung diet nyo, sir,
wala na.
regular na, okay na po?
Wala nang bawal. Matagal nang wala na. More than 1 month na ako walang bawal. Actually, wala naman talagang bawal. Marami lang suggestion na iwasan mo itong ganito, iwasan mo yung masyadong mantikain. Pero wala na yun. Hindi ko na masyadong iniisip na yun.
Good news po yan. But anyway, sir, mukhang may good news pa rin. Because the US and Iran agreed to have this 2-week ceasefire.
That's right.
What do you think po? Paano ito makakatulong sa globally, sir, at sa atin?
Well, natural. Kasi kasama dun sa agreement na pinag-usapan, na dun sa ceasefire, na bubuksan ang Straits of Hormuz. Ibig sabihin, yung mga number 1, yung ating mga seafarer, libo-libo naiiwan dun sa seafarer na nakaparking lang dun nag-aantay na makapasok o lumabas. So, magagawa na nila yung kanilang trabaho. Pangalawa, we will then hopefully be able yung mga supply na nailakad natin habang nag-aantay tayo ng bubukas, baka pwede na nang padaanin. At kasama na rin dyan yung naging arrangement natin sa Iran na pumayag naman sila na Philippine flag na vessel at pwede nilang paraanin. At yung mga supplies na papuntang Pilipinas, pwede nilang padaanin. And then, of course, to provide security and care of our seafarers. So we will take full advantage of the 2 weeks to increase our supply as much as possible and to continue to make whatever arrangements are possible. We are all hoping and praying that the 2-week ceasefire will extend further if the talks go well. I think that everybody around the table is willing and desirous, gusto nila na matapos na itong gulo na ito. So hopefully all the parties will come together. But we have the 2 weeks. We will take as much advantage of it as we possibly can by assuring the supply of petroleum products in the Philippines and hopefully being able to do something about the pricing kasi luluwag na ang market. So, it's a very simple demand and supply situation. So hopefully we will medyo bababa ang presyo ng langis. Pero titignan natin because it's so volatile. 2 weeks may not be enough time to bring the prices down. But maybe if it is extended further than that with the prospect of even better situation following, then prices will start to follow. We will, of course, immediately adjust. Yeah.
Oh, we will pray for that, sir.
Oo.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you.
President.
All right. Salamat.
More importantly, Ramil Madriaga has been ordered to appear by the court itself on the 14th from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. I had seen a document. Mr. Madriaga had been ordered by the court to appear on the 14th from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Ang panawagan natin sa Korte Suprema, dapat this time around, irespeto ang Kongreso bilang co-equal branch na may exclusive na kapangyarihan sa impeachment, including yung paggawa ng sarili niyang rules. Kaya gusto ng petisyon ng Vice President ay sabihin o na invalidate ang rules ng House. So ibig sabihin ang gusto niya mangyari ay ang Supreme Court ang gumawa ng rules ng impeachment. Labag ito sa Constitution.
Ang Vice President nagipit sa Supreme Court talaga kumakapit. Confirmed, wala talaga siyang balak harapin itong kaso na kinahaharap niya ngayon dito sa impeachment sa House of Representatives. Alam natin na talagang desperado na sila, natatakot na lumabas ang ebidensya, natatakot na lumabas ang katotohanan. Kasi alam ni VP Sara, paglabas ng ebidensya, wala na siyang takas.
Sir, how will this affect the April 14 hearing?
Well, sana wala itong epekto doon sa proseso natin dito sa House of Representatives. Dahil ito isang constitutional mandate na dapat natin gawin at dapat natin ginagawa. Habang ginagawa natin iba pang mahalagang trabaho na tugunan ang problema ng ating mga kababayan.
So have you read the petition po filed by the VP Sara Camp, and how confident are you that the SC will jump this petition?
Well, sa totoo lang, yung manirace si Sara Duterte doon sa kanyang petition sa Supreme Court ay covered na nung mga ginagawa natin dito sa House of Representatives in terms of complying with the Constitution, the House Rules on Impeachment, and even the ruling of the Supreme Court. So walang dahilan para maantala itong sinasabi nating matagal ng long overdue na paglilitis sa kanya. Dahil may utang na katotohanan ang VP sa taong bayan at ito yung panahon para siya ay humarap dito.
Sir, hindi po kayo nangangamba kasi yung isa sa mga ginamit yung arguments ulit is yung violation dun sa 1-year bar, which was the reference sa Supreme Court bakit naging unconstitutional yung first impeachment. So, wala po ba kayong fears about that argument this time?
Well, sa ngayon, very confident tayo. Naging maingat ang proseso dito sa Committee on Justice and we are confident with how we are proceeding sa pagsunod doon sa letters of the law, particularly yung processes within the COJ. Sa totoo lang, yung pagsunod nga natin na ito, sabi ng iba, parang nagpapabagal sa proseso. Pero naniniwala tayo sa rule of law and due process.
Kung may regret ba kayo nung nag-endorso kayo ng complaint before February? Kasi sa mga argumento natin.
Well, wala tayong regret kasi sa dulo malinaw yung pananagutan natin sa taong bayan. The same way na sana malinaw kay VP Sara yung pananagutan niya sa taong bayan. Wala siyang karapatan na mag-aspire for a higher position kung dito pa lamang bilang vice-presidente, hindi na niya kayang gawin yung kanyang constitutional mandate.
Sir, pinapa-invalidate si Sara sa House Rules on Impeachment, dalawang petition. Do you think that's an admission na grounded on existing laws and House Rules proceeding na nangyayari?
Well, this petition petition reeks of desperation. At alam natin kapag desperado, talagang gagawin ang lahat para ma-derail yung process. And we hope that the Supreme Court will see that we are fully compliant with not just the Constitution but even with their own ruling.
I want to ask the DOE Secretary kung totoo po na may chance na aabot ng 200 pesos ang cost ng fuel natin, and kung totoo na hindi na bababa uli below 100 pesos. Is this true?
Mr. Chair, will it go up to 200? Honestly, I don't know, and I don't think anybody knows yet, because like mentioned earlier, there was a pronouncement of a ceasefire, but there are threats going back and forth. Whenever there's a oil infrastructure destroyed in whatever country, the price spikes. Then babagsak na naman, and then suddenly something else happens. So we don't have any visibility of where this will go, and unfortunately we are so dependent on what's happening there. So so it could happen, depending on what the two countries do, no? But will it go down to 100? And that's actually what we've been discussing. 20% is from the Middle East, 80% from the rest of the world. Now, if the war stops today, will the 20% be able to deliver? I think it will take some months, because most of the infrastructure, especially LNG, has been destroyed. And I think LNG in Qatar will take 5 years to fix. And then all the other pipelines and all the other infrastructure of Middle East on oil. So although the war will stop, there has been structural change in the industry. So, pati yung supply, 80% na lang we can rely on for now. And that is still expensive, no? Why do we get from Middle East, or why does South Korea get from Middle East? Because it's faster and cheaper. So, I think the problem will stay longer than the war itself. So, if it ever goes back to 100 pesos or below, it will take some time, Mr. Chair.